ultimately they are going to be the reason that we get a handle on the federal government through the 10th Amendment. We have seen enough states get together that they just simply told the feds, we don't want your national ID card that was embedded in the real ID. Would have had gun owners' information in there along with all other kinds of information. They think we're a bunch of cattle and it's perfectly okay for them to know everything about us. I want to know about their checking accounts. I want to know where their kids go to. I want to know where they live. The heck with them knowing everything about me. They yammer about transparency, and they're about as transparent as muck. So we have seen the states simply say, we don't care about your sanctions that are in the... And had the feds pulled the trigger on sanctions, I'm not allowed to say pull the trigger, a lot of us wouldn't have been able to fly on an airplane with our driver's license, wouldn't have been able to buy a gun with our driver's license. Shouldn't have to have any ID to buy a gun anywhere. But that's something we're going to be taking care of. And so now the states have been coming to the point where they've been kind of catching on to this constitutionality of gun laws. And yeah, you can imagine George Washington was sitting there freezing to death in Valley Forge thinking, man, what we really need is some good regulation of guns. That's what it was all about, right? Isn't that what was in your history book? You probably didn't have a history book, I'm sorry. So, now we've seen the states raise the bar another notch. And they're saying, as you know, if we have a firearm that's made in our state and it stays in our state, it's none of your business, federales. And Wyoming has done it just a little notch up from that. They have said that, and if one of you federales attempts to enforce unconstitutional federal gun law in contravention of state law, you are committing a criminal offense. And of course, you know where you have to put criminals. Will the real criminal please sit down? Clang. They're all over there. They're the ones that are working on things that they have no authority to be working on, and then they expect us to smile when we pay our taxes. Angry? I think maybe we are. Now, we're probably going to lose in federal court, although we filed a brief on behalf of Montana in their lawsuit. It's on our website at gunowners.org, and we make the argument that, hey, not only does federal law say that a state can do this, it actually does. Our attorneys actually found where the federal law says that they're only there to help the states, and the states obviously have the ultimate authority for firearms. But that's just a federal law. Who cares about that? It's what the Constitution says, and that says with the main body of the Constitution, the Second Amendment and the 10th Amendment says no constitutional gun laws and regulation, period. That's our brief that we've got in for the Montana case. Well, we're probably going to lose because federal judges were put in by federal politicians, and they all assume that somehow policy is whatever comes into their silly head, and there's no limits, and hey, they won the last election, so sit down and shut up. Well, we're not here to shut up. We're here to tell you something, guys. You're fired. And you can join the unemployment ranks with Bob Bennett. Actually, he's going to make a lot of money down on K Street, and so will Harry Reid. They'll probably work for the same lobbying firm. Won't that be? They work together now. Why shouldn't they keep working after the election? Anyway, it's going to come down to a sheriff. What is a sheriff willing to do? Now, if I were making a gun in Wyoming, I'd sure want to make sure that my sheriff knew and agreed with the new law. And then I'd want him to do what Mike Raines has done, the sheriff of Eaton County in Michigan. And when people get a concealed carry, he says, now, if you'd like to participate in the program, I'll be glad to sign you up. And if I declare an emergency, you're automatically part of my posse. And I think that's a pretty slick idea, so that if we see the federales coming in for a rumble, well, we just push a little button and everybody shows up for the posse. Joe Arpaio's been doing this for a long time down in Maricopa County.
Go Joe!
So, go Joe. That's a real American hero. Running for re-election this year, and I'm sure that many of you are already contributors to his campaign, no matter where you live, because he's truly America's sheriff. Well, it's going to come down to that, and let me give you an example. This has already been happening here and there when you get a sheriff with the right attitude. A guy like a Mike Raines or a Sheriff Mack or Arpaio, whatever. There was, just a few years ago, in a county outside of Memphis, in a barn, there was a fire. And the fire involved a lot of ammo and powder. And the fire department was there, and a couple of sheriff's deputies were there. Then the FBI shows up, and they announce that they're there to take over the investigation. Deputy said, "What investigation are you talking about?" "Well, there's ammunition and powder involved, so we're taking over the investigation." Well, they knew their sheriff, of course, and they didn't really think he would think that's a great idea. He was so opposed to federal entanglement that if he really needed money badly enough, he'd have a bake sale. He would not take federal money. So naturally, when he heard what was going on, the sheriff came right out and he ascertained what was happening, and he told these FBI agents, "Well, I don't really think you should be doing this investigation. But if you insist, I can give you some office space in my building downtown." And they said, "No, that's all right. We'll just come right here and do the investigation." He said, "I don't think you got what I was saying. Let me put it to you this way. You either get out of my county right now, or you're going to be in my jail." And wow, what a huff they were in. You don't talk to the federal government, especially the FBI, like that. They went and they checked with their supervisors, and here's the key. Here's the key to the whole 10th Amendment battle. The supervisor spoke truth. He said, "A sheriff," it means any sheriff, "can do that." And knowing that sheriff, he probably will. So you know what happened? The investigation was handled at the local level. They left! That's what we need to do. Tell them which way is out of the county and not come back. We don't need you. And oh, by the way, we're going to stop paying for it because you're not going to have the job anyway, because when we fire the Congress, we're coming to fire you guys over there too. Yeah.